Hi, I'm Chema Nguyen. I'm the co-founder of CFTE, and I welcome you to the Upskilling series. We all see the world going digital, rapidly transforming our lives, our jobs, and the way we live all together. In fact, the pandemic has only been a catalyst to this transformation, and it's up to us to adapt to this technology-driven world. So how do you adapt to these changes? How do you find talent for the roles that don't exist yet? Well, the Upskilling series aims to find its answers to all these questions by interviewing global experts, CEOs of fintech startups, and thought leaders to shed some lights on the jobs of tomorrow in financial services and fintech. Let's start with our next guest. I'm extremely pleased to welcome Jerry Tso from PayPal, who today is having an interesting role as Senior Director, Head of Singapore Development Center. Thanks a lot, Jerry, for joining me.
Thank you, Trianne. It's really glad to be here to be discussing this topic with you. It's dear and near to my heart, and it's certainly very relevant in terms of what I'm doing today. So glad to be here. So
before we start, I have a question for you, Jerry. It's about your career, about how did you start your career until today?
Yeah, sure. So I would say how I got into PayPal was probably luck. It's really pure luck. I started my career, probably in the late 1990s, early 2000s. That's when I graduated, in the U.S. Did a couple startups, from in various places in the Valley, because back then the .com was pretty hot. Then I got into this small company called PayPal in 2002, back then. So I've been with PayPal since 2002. And back then, obviously, it was about sending monies, through emails, right? And eBay was really hot at that time. So we really didn't know that, in terms of the whole fintech, digital money was going to be this big. But certainly at that time, we had a great ambition of we wanted to be the currency of the world, right? At that time, PayPal. So at PayPal, I've done various roles. I started with an individual contributor as a quality engineers within, certain groups, and then moved to different functions at PayPal. Then I started to get into more of the leadership role, after a couple of years as individual contributors. And then I got a chance to, take a huge leap in moving to Singapore in 2008. Earlier, here, we just set up sort of the international headquarters as a PayPal here. And there was an opportunity for me to come and help grow the presence here for PayPal. So I took a leap in 2008. So I've been here ever since. It's been an extremely fun ride. Why I say that is, I did take a leave of absence, a year and a half in between PayPal in 2013. I went to Shanghai, had the startup itch to look at something else. It was still in the fintech sector, but it was a startup with the conglomerate. And then, two years later, I came back. PayPal really was the place for me. So I came back, and then I've been with the role that I'm currently in ever since. So been blessed, really lucky throughout the career, and really happy to be in this industry. So that's just a little bit about my careers up to this point.
It's an amazing career journey and very inspiring. And how do you personally acquire new skill and upskill yourself when you are at PayPal?
So at PayPal, we have a balanced approach in terms of, learning and development, right? We take the 70, 20, and 10 approach, where 70 is mostly on the experiential, 20% is through instructor-led, and then 10% is self-paced. Right, because we believe that different people have different needs in terms of how they learn. For me personally, I like to take a blended approach. Now, because of other commitments, I have limited times. So I try to do right now is, during the day, can I take at least 1 hour of, the day to just focus on something, learning something new, that I may not have know before. It could be any topic, whether it's blockchain, crypto, or any of the subjects. So, websites, and then internally we have, Udemy, those online courses that we can take as well. So those are the self-pays I try to do as much as possible, incrementally on a day-to-day basis. And we would have also instructor-led. Those are more time-consuming. We would do that probably once every quarter or once every half a year, being with a cohort, learning together. So that's typically how I try to upskill myself. But one other thing I really try to do is to learn from my team, because I do have a big team across the globe. They're doing many different things at the same time. The best thing to do is to talk to them, asking questions, and you learn a lot from them in terms of their experience. So I try to do, those multiple things to help me keep up to date on what's happening.
Very, very good. So I remember the 70-20-10, your approach of upskilling yourself. Could you tell me, because I know you care a lot about growing your people and your team at PayPal, could you tell us some successful initiative you got to do to get the team to upskill?
So, there are various things that we have done, but I'll just mention one of the current initiatives that we're currently working on, which we are partnering with Neon Poly today, is to help our mid-career professionals to upskill. Now, this might not be within our organization, but this is to help get into fintech. So it's a 10-month-long program where the mid-career professional first get a boot camp in the classroom for 4 months period, and then they come to PayPal to get hands-on experience for 6 months. And so overall, it's a 10-month program. And this is something we feel like it brings tremendous value in terms of blending what they learn in the classroom and then applying to what's in the classroom, actually solving a real problem that we hear at PayPal. So that is certainly a very successful initiative that we have embarked, not too long ago. Internally at PayPal, I think one of the, if I can remember, just going back, one of the big enterprise initiative that in terms of skill is transforming our development methodology from a waterfall method to agile. And that really requires the entire companies to change and, learn, how agile works, so that was a huge transformation that took us about 3 years to really get, where we wanted to be. And certainly the journey was that easy. And throughout the different, periods and journey, we had, in-classroom training, we had coaches on the ground, and then actually people applying those in their day-to-day development work. So that was one thing that we have done successfully, in a big scale way at PayPal a few years ago. So and now we're very agile in terms of that. Certainly has speed up our product development to help support our customers. So those are the two examples I can bring. One is from outside and one is from internal.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good. And so I know you've done a lot of great initiative. Is there any advice to fellow leaders on upskilling, how to transform people?
I think one thing that, here at PayPal, we certainly, take career development very seriously, right? It's not just about the job, but, career development for the long term. So a lot of very important things that we do here is, we making sure managers, your immediate manager is having that conversations, with you and the employees to talk about what is it that excites you, what is it that you want to continue to learn, how do you want to continue to improve yourself. I think that's the first and foremost thing that is to have that conversation. So then individual is thinking about that. And once they start thinking about that, it's really about individual in terms of charting what they want to do. Then at a leadership level, at a company level, how do we support that individuals? Because we firmly believe that from a career development perspective, nobody can help you but yourself. Right? You have to take the owner to move things forward, right? People will be there to help you, but nobody can be there to do it for you. So I think for a leader, I think that's very important to keep in mind. And obviously, I think more from a practical standpoint, you have to be supportive if they're coming to you with a certain ask, right? I think time is a big aspect because everybody has a day job, right? Trying to meet certain goal objective, trying to create the time for them to upskills, and they require leadership support. So I think those are the things it's important for any leader in an organization to keep in mind.
Thanks, Jerry. We talked about, the initiative and the opportunities that and the successful initiative that you've done. Now, I would like to talk about the challenges. And when I say about challenges, I think what I have in mind is how do you attract and retain the right talent in order to transform your organization towards a new culture, ways of working? Was it hard?
It certainly requires constant focus, and you got to keep an eye on it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's people, right? And people would get bored after a while if they continue to do similar things, right? So it's something that's top of my mind is how do I continue to retain our talent, especially in this very competitive environment that we're in today. So I think, at least for me, I have to look ahead and what are the trends, what are the business needs that are coming that would require some certain skills that our current team might not have today. And then again, work with our individuals and say, hey, here are the different opportunities. What are you thinking in terms of where do you want to go a year from now? What are the new things that you want to get into? So then, can we come together and try to match in terms of what the business needs are, what your interests are, because I think that's the best thing, right? If people are interested in getting to something new and you have the opportunity to provide that to them, that is the best case scenario because that creates a win-win situation for the organization. So that's certainly what we try to do as much as possible is to give people, a purposeful, roles and job opportunity because one thing that we see is you have people certainly cares about the compensation aspects of it, but a lot of people, they want to do impactful work. So if you can give them that impactful work, I think the talent will stay.
It's very true. Could you tell me, because, with, COVID-19, acceleration of digitalization, a lot of jobs been transformed. And we're looking for new jobs, but in terms of hiring now, what are the type of people you are hiring? And perhaps I go deeper, what are the qualities for anyone who would like to be working for you?
That is, it's also been interesting, and that has changed a lot in the last, I think, 6 to 9 months since the pandemic starts. I think traditionally before the pandemic, I think we've been looking at probably the traditional profile. For example, if I were looking at software engineer, right, I would look at people, do they have a CS degree coming out? Do they have relevant experience in fintech, or relevant things? But more and more, because of pandemic, because of this, everybody's looking for the same type of people, we have to be creative and open our mind and looking at different types of people who, sort of going beyond what we typically would be looking for, right? It could be from different industry that might not, but has the basic skills from a technical perspective, but they not might have the functional knowledge, right? That we would, or people that have done it before, took a break, now wants to come back and get into industry, right? Sort of the returning mom type of, people. So we're opening up all channels to look at different type of people now here at PayPal, to hire here. I think the important qualities to look for, obviously, we want to see, does people have the passion, right? And the learning aptitude and wanting to learn more, right? I think that's very important because, the technology is moving so fast, right? A lot of knowledge you retain probably only you have to be able to learn, unlearn, and learn again. So it's important that people have that a skill set. But second of all, we're looking at, can people solve or create creative problem solvers? Because at the end of the day, coming to technology, it's a problem solving. So if you possess the skills, right, and you have the aptitude to learn, those are the type of people we'll be looking for here at PayPal.
Great. And at CFT, we're seeing a lot more professionals in finance, in tech, entrepreneurs who are coming, to us, and they are looking for new opportunities. So they were coming from more traditional roles, and today, they want to accelerate and join, an innovative company, or join a fintech, or join a tech, or a startup. What would be your best piece of advice to a professional who is looking to get into PayPal?
I think we have seen our fair share, as we screen candidates, some of the more senior folks who's looking to switch. I think the one key thing is whoever that's looking for opportunity to get into PayPal or in this space, are they open and be flexible at taking the role, right? Because I think one thing we see that some of these professionals in the banks or wherever, they might have 15, 20-year experience, which, I think some of those experience are very valuable. But the salary and thing, they're getting paid at such a high level. When switching industry, it is expected to be, you would have at a lower comp per se, right? And some of the people that we're seeing just not willing to make those transitions, right? So if that's the case, it's going to be very hard for them to switch, right? So I think for any people that's looking at switching, especially switching industries where you might not have knowledge, I think you have to be flexible from that sense. Then I think that there's a world of possibilities. Really, that's really the one thing that we see, that is hindering from getting to places, in fintech or PayPal.
And what would be your piece of advice for any young students, coming fresh from university?
Obviously, I think for any young person coming into any role, I think it's very important in the first couple of years of their career to establish that foundation, right? And what I meant is, in any role, if the first couple of years, they can really learn deep about, in depth about the role that they're playing, whether it is software engineering, data scientist, they can go deep at it in the first couple of years that help them set up the fundamentals. Then they can start exploring what are the breadth area later on. Because if you start with the broader picture, then you don't have develop that expertise. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for you to, sort of maneuver around later in your career. So that's what I would say. The other thing is, network, learn as much as possible. And when new person coming in, ask a lot of questions. That's what I always tell, any new hire coming to organization. It's okay. We don't expect you to know everything. But the best thing to do is for you to ask questions so then you can learn as much and quickly as possible.
That's a very good piece of advice. I agree. We are seeing a huge transformation in any industry, and especially PayPal now being one of the largest platforms. And you're seeing a lot of jobs being created. And I wanted to ask you, what are the top jobs you are seeing being created today and most in demand compared to 5 years ago?
So number one is still software engineer. So there are backend engineers, there are full stack engineers. These roles are in demand. There's more demand than supply. So, and this is a global phenomenon that you see. Second is data scientists, right? Anything around data. AI has been sort of commoditized. It's in, filtered everywhere in every industry. So data scientists, data engineer, data analysts, and something around digital marketing, it's also key. And lastly, I would say, cybersecurity specialist is another very hot areas that a lot of company needs these sort of job role today. So those are the few jobs that I see as the top demand in fintech.
Jerry, I think you answered a lot of the questions most people have in mind, so thanks a lot. How can people find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can look me up. So I think that's the best place to look me up. And you know, be connected there.
Okay, and if there was one message you want to give and share to our audience, what could it be?
So for people out there that's looking to get into fintech, it's never too late to get into it. You know, whether you're 30 or 40, the industry is moving so fast, right? Even if you're even getting in now, there's tremendous opportunities for you to grow in this area. So that's my piece of advice. If you're thinking about it, don't wait, get in now.
I agree with you. I think, you know, there are lots and lots of opportunity, plenty of opportunity, new job being created, and we are seeing it, you are creating them, and we are inviting everyone, you know, to connect with you. If you are looking for a job opportunity at PayPal, there are jobs. Jerry, you mentioned it, and so please, you know, join me to connect with Jerry, and thanks a lot, Jerry. It was very insightful, and I hope you know, we can meet again soon, be welcoming you in London, or I'll be very happy to join you in Singapore and see you in Singapore soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's glad to be here.
Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. I'm already looking forward to the next interview. In the meantime, if you wish to learn more about the new world of finance, I invite you to check our previous videos where we welcome many guest experts to share their views. You can check out CFT's blog and articles to learn more and start your fintech journey. If you'd like to go further, you can acquire the basics in fintech, AI or open banking under 40 minutes with our free masterclasses from our experts. You can find all this information in the description below. Again, thank you for being with us today and see you for the next interview.